A great deal of chatter on socials right now about Battlefield and which titles belong at the top of the tier list. If it was up to you, where would you put them? I'm going over my thoughts today, a little bit of chatter about Battlefield and the series going forward, so sit back, relax, and let's get into this, shall we? Battlefield 3. It doesn't get any better than this, and that's a fact. Battlefield 3 was such a monumental game, an absolute classic, an absolute marketing masterpiece, many would say. It looked stunning, it played pretty well, it had many issues over the years. Explosive spam on Metro was definitely one of them for me. But apart from that, Metro was an awesome map, and it had so many awesome maps. Grand Bazaar, Seine Crossing, Damavan Peak, do you remember that? Running across down the mountains, down the hill, jump off the cliff there, straight down into the tunnels. Oh, that was such an epic experience. When we got to see the initial 2042 trailer, I was ready to experience that again. But sadly, we didn't quite get that. You could jump off it, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't a big part of the map and how the gameplay was. And that's definitely one of my criticisms of 2042. Sometimes we got to see some really cool stuff, but they were kind of detached from the actual gameplay flow, the actual stuff going on inside the match, the back and forth tug of war action. Some of it was just too far away. But yeah, Grand Bazaar, that was such an epic map. And the destruction, we got to talk about that. If you shot some RPGs, the buildings would crumble down. Oh, it was just beautiful. BF3, I played it back on the PS3 and it was clunky and the aim was definitely not good, not compared to the 60 FPS Call of Duty at the time, but it was still good. There was something still awesome about it. And once I got to PC, honestly, if you've never played BF3 on PC, you've got to do it right now. If you've got a PC in the last probably 5 years, it's going to blitz it and it's going to be just absolutely smooth and just stunning. One of my biggest issues with BF3 was suppression, though. It was like Vaseline was just rubbed all over the screen, and it just didn't look good. Didn't look good. Affected your aim, where the bullets go, and all that stuff. Don't want to get into a discussion on suppression today, but personally, one of my biggest issues with that game. But overall, BF3, great maps, great gunplay. It was the right game at the right time. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Battlefield Hardline. Now, where do we put this? I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. I've said it on stream a few times, and that is the problem with Battlefield Hardline was its theme. If you took away the cops and robbers aspect of it, I think it would have been a pretty decent game. If you just made it modern military or something like that, I think it would have been a pretty solid title, in all honesty. I'm going to put it as enjoyable. I do think it was a pretty solid game. It had some good maps. The destruction, once again, the crane coming down and crashing through the side of the building, that was just next level. That was really taking Siege of Shanghai from BF4 and just trying something a little bit different. Of course, the Levolution in BF4 was just iconic. Again, Siege of Shanghai, the building coming down and changing the map, of course, that was great, but I don't know, something about that crane coming down was just sick for me. And of course, coming from BF3, Hardline had Grand Bazaar remake. That was just incredible. You know, I think the maps were okay overall in Hardline. Something just it wasn't quite itching the scratch there with many of them, but there was one that I do remember. It's probably for the Metro Locker fans, and it was called The Block. And with the highest player counts on that game, I think it was 64 on PC, wasn't it? I can't remember right now, but honestly, something about The Block was just crazy. The flanks you could get, the buildings coming down in the middle. It was a pretty cool game, and there was lots of different guns. The gunplay at times, there was I forget what weapon it was called. It was like an SMG, like a K30 or something like that, and it was just tearing through people, absolutely tearing. That was a little bit ridiculous at times, but the sniping was good, and there's some cool little Easter eggs with the sofa car. I think it was on the beta map, and there was loads of you had the alligator head. That was pretty cool. overall, I think Hardline, yeah, it was a okay slash enjoyable game. I feel like some of the maps kind of let it down, but that downtown one, I think it was called, with the crane, that was really good. Grow House, that was epic. This night map with, as you can kind of guess what they were growing in there, all sorts of stuff, shall we say. That was a pretty solid map. But yeah, I honestly believe if you changed the theme of Hardline, it would have been a different game. I genuinely do.
Club number 7, today we have The Broken Machine. And as we load in just here, as you can see, he's just joining the game. And he's gonna just, power drop in. They're playing some obliteration. So you have that option. Parachute in, just start getting shit done. His first action in the game is to fire a straw missile way out towards C. Enemy players are in a helicopter out there. I'm sure you can add 2 plus 2 here. And he's going to connect that straw with the helicopter and get himself a double kill. Incredible shot.
Oh, the fan favorite here, Battlefield 4. It doesn't get any better than this or enjoyable. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. It's definitely not an okay game. It's enjoyable. Oh, I'm going to put it doesn't get any better than this. It's maybe somewhere between. BF4, I don't think they quite got the maps right, but the gunplay and everything was fairly solid for a lot of it. There's some issues, of course. I mean, we had issues in BF3. The M16 was absolutely dominated for ages. I mean, BF4 definitely had some powerful weapons like the AEK and was it the Ace 23? I think that was quite dominant for a while. Some issues with I mean, we had the sights. What was the sight called? The Coyote? Cobra sight? No, Coyote, right? Everyone was using that. There was definitely some meta issues and more other meta issues with Battlefield 4, but I felt it played pretty good overall. And of course, the destruction was taken to another level in many ways with Levolution. That completely changed the way some of the maps played. Again, Siege of Shanghai, you had the tower coming down, and then this whole new area opened up, which I thought was pretty cool. Some people didn't quite like it, and in some servers on PC, you'd get kicked for trying to take out the tower because people hated it. I don't know. In some ways, I felt like it kind of encouraged people to move towards the middle of the map a little bit more, and a little bit more of tug-of-war action. But man, Battlefield 4 did have some banger maps, didn't it, though? Do you remember that one, Pearl Market? That was amazing. I'm surprised they haven't brought that back. There was loads of verticality to it, loads of flanks going on, objectives on the rooftops. Oh, it's just a really good map. And then Propaganda. Do we know if the UFO ever existed on that map? I remember a video by Jack and many others. I don't think it was ever found, was it? There was apparently this UFO Easter egg. And talking of Easter eggs, BF4 had loads of them. You had the Phantom assignments, the Phantom program, all the stuff going on there. We had the crossbow. I mean, there's the Megalodon, which returned in BF1, if you remember. Wow, there were some really great maps on that game. Hainan Resort, that was quite a cool one with the building coming down in the middle. Gulf of Oman returned from Battlefield 3. They did have some not so great maps that I still to this day don't understand why they're so popular. Talking of Goldmud Railway, why is there 24/7 like max tickets on that map? What is so good about Goldmud Railway? I really don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. For infantry, maybe it's just vehicle players love it, I don't know. But for infantry, now, and I will say Rush was pretty good on it, but I'm talking about Conquest. Infantry up in the village had a really good time, but outside of that, it was like, there's nothing really going on here. You're running across the map, you might get sniped, you might get hit by a vehicle, you run all the way to the opposite side, and then the action goes on the other. It just wasn't a good map. I don't know what that was about. And talking of destruction again, Flood Zone, do you remember that? I can't even remember right now what you had to do, but the water level would rise and change the kind of how the game played out in the middle section of the map. That was pretty cool. Some of the DLC maps were a little bit iffy, but we did get to see Caspian Border return, Metro. Man, some really good bangers coming back there. I do hope Metro comes back to 2042, but BF4 kind of tried to improve it in some ways with some extra corridors, but it kind of just ended up being the same map. If it is coming back to 2042, they really need to just make it a little bit wider or something like that. I did mention it in my video the other day. Got a lot of views, a lot of people talking in that. If you haven't seen it, do be sure to go check it out. Anyway, yeah, Battlefield 4. I could say so many more things, but I'm going to leave it in. It doesn't get better than this. It's an S tier Battlefield, maybe an A. Yeah, I think it is. Battlefield 1, where do you think I'm going to put that? I mean, it's obvious. It's got to go right up at the top there. Battlefield 1 is not perfect. I could understand the criticism coming from BF3 and BF4 and even Bad Company 2. It's quite a different game in many ways. I think it's more related to Bad Company 2 than it is to BF3 and BF4. It was a cinematic masterpiece in my opinion. The audio is incredible. The visuals, even on a standard PS4, was just crazy good. Absolutely crazy good. And then the PS4 Pro came around. Oh, that was just beautiful. And playing it on PC as well. Absolutely stunning game. I remember BF1 is where my channel really popped off. The closed alpha came in, I got an invite, couldn't talk to anyone about it, my PC was barely running at 60 FPS, and I was blasting it every single day. And then the embargo was dropped and we could post footage, and I was just slamming YouTube with absolutely everything I could. It was just, we got to play St. Quentin's Scar, which was just an amazing map, so good that I actually made an entire montage just from one map, which is insane. And they're not all the same clips, they're all different kind of moments, and I was just absolutely amazed by just how good Battlefield 1 is, or was. Well, it's still going. And for me, the gunplay isn't perfect at all. The class balance for me was pretty good. I feel like they got that kind of right. Assault was SMGs up close, really dominant, but you couldn't heal. And then the support class was more medium, long ranges. You got the sniper class, of course. But the medic, you could heal up, but your aim usually had to be pretty good with weapons, and not all of them will dominate up close, again, if your aim isn't that good. You know, I'm thinking of stuff like the auto-loading extended. I feel like they got the balance there. And BF5 didn't quite get that. BF5, they took the medic class, gave you SMGs, and honestly, it was just the best class in the game, and I feel like they made a mistake there. Don't get me wrong, had a lot of fun in BF5 with the medic class, can't complain too much when it comes to clips and streams and whatever, and gameplay moments, but BF1, I feel like they, for the most part, they got the class balance kind of right. When it comes to vehicles, though, BF1, not a big fan of artillery trucks, and the planes, of course, were incredibly dominating. I know you could take them out in various ways, but often you get sniped if you try jumping on any of the AAs, and the vehicles would just be back in again. And of course, with operations, they knew where you were going. And talking of operations, BF1 had such great maps in many places. Not all great maps, some stinkers in there. But BF1 Operations is where I think the series needs to go forward. It's a story-driven kind of mode. It's got great intros that really make you feel like you're a part of the place. Very authentic kind of feeling. And that's the point about BF1. It's not exactly realistic. Everyone's running around with Hell Regals, and I believe there was only one of them ever made. But it felt like, if this is how World War I ended up, I feel like you could believe it. It felt authentic in many ways, felt very immersive. And Operations, or Breakthrough as it's known in other games, are just amazing. You'd spawn in, you'd be pushing through the trenches, flanking around people, tug-of-war action, back and forth. If you didn't make it through, you had another battalion, and sometimes the Zeppelins would come in, or the Dreadnought, the massive boat that just caused so much havoc and destruction across the map. BF1 just, man, I genuinely believe Operations, or a story-driven kind of mode, is more of the future of Battlefield. Those kind of big replay value moments that are really happening in BF1 Operations really needs to come forward. And there's some ways I think DICE have kind of maybe realized that in some ways. If you've seen the control mode in Battlefield 2042, it's a lot more, it's got a lot more replay value in my opinion than some of the other modes. And I think DICE really needs to realize that. I think story-driven elements need to be included going forward, and you know, you got to look at BF1 operations. But yeah, BF1's music as well. The music in Battlefield 1, I've got it on vinyl. It's honestly, it's so good, and I feel excited talking about it. It's honestly one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. I mean, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, amazing. Hardline, no, not too bad, but BF3, BF4, BF1, all right up there for me. If you ever get a chance to listen to it on vinyl, it's phenomenal. And luckily, I went to Sweden to the DICE concert that they were putting on, and got to hear some of this music live. And honestly, if they ever do that again and you get a chance to listen to Battlefield music live, do it. It's honestly, it's incredible. If you haven't listened to all the soundtracks, you know, you need to get on it. It's just beautiful. And talking of Battlefield maps, Amiens was just amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm surprised they haven't redone it again in 2042. Honestly, Portal mode would have really popped off with that. I'm surprised we don't get more urban maps. I know they're expensive, but more of that, please, would be very nice. And of course, there were some other good maps as well. Tsaritsyn. Dropped my biggest ever kill streak on that, 103. That was just wild. And yeah, there's some really cool maps that tried new things. I don't know how to pronounce this. That Zeebrugge? I totally butchered that. Probably going to get flamed in the comments down below. But that was, yeah, that's just a really interesting one. You have the port there. Just a very different map that just kind of changed up the way the game plays. Verdun Heights as well. Fort de Vaux. I mean, the experience on that was essentially Operation Locker or Metro in a World War I theme, and it's just crazy good. So many flanks. When it comes to elites, I would love to know down below, would you bring back the elites in the next game or not? Let me know. Personally, I don't mind them as long as they don't have too much health. That is the biggest issue, but yeah, I'm going to stick Battlefield 1 right up at the top there. If there's another tier, it would probably go above that. Battlefield 1 isn't perfect, but it showed what Battlefield could be and the kinds of audiences that would play these kind of games. I think BF1 really got itself out there, and it's such a shame. It's such a shame that the future titles didn't quite grasp such of a large audience. Battlefield 1943. Honestly, I barely played this game. I don't have much to say about it. It felt pretty good while I played it, and I'm sure many people at the time really enjoyed it when it came out. I don't have much to say. I'm going to say I did have an okay experience, so I'm going to leave it as that. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments below are going to say, hey, put it up to enjoyable, and I probably agree with you, but I didn't play it that much, so I'm going to say it was an okay experience for me. Battlefield Bad Company 2, one of the best games in the series. This has to go to the top. It really is. It had such iconic maps, absolutely beautiful maps, played amazingly for Rush. The sounds of the weapons, again, the audio in Battlefield is always top tier, and this game got it so right. If you've never played it, you've got to play it before it goes. It's going soon. You won't be able to play this game. The multiplayer servers are being shut down later this year in December. The maps were just amazing for Rush. Rush, you got to plant the bomb on the objectives, take it out and move forward. Similar to kind of like Breakthrough in a way, but you've got to actually arm instead of cap flags. And honestly, this game it was a special game. At the time, I was getting a little bit bored of Call of Duty. I played this game online. I was like, wow, I am hooked. And, you know, 7 years later from BF1, and I'm still streaming Battlefield, still uploading. You know, this was the game. This was the game. The flanks in this game, oh, just beautiful. The streaks you could pull off. The sniping was so satisfying, especially taking out the pilots. And, you know, the maps. Interestingly enough, this game didn't have the high player count of BF3 or BF4. It's 64 players, half the size, and it still played really well. So I think that goes to show it's not so much about the player count. You know, 2042 went to 128. It's about how the game plays, the quality of the game. And Battlefield Bad Company 2 for me just got it so right. It felt incredibly immersive as well. And it looks beautiful. Looks beautiful at times. Still does. Yeah, it really does. I've always wanted to play a futuristic Battlefield, and sadly, I never played 2142. So I can't say much about that. It looks pretty cool. It looks kind of awesome for the time. And yeah, let me know down below if you played this one. You know, the Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rex kind of vehicles, they looked epic. I wish I was really into PC gaming at the time, but sadly, 2142 didn't play it. Does it deserve a update? Does it deserve a sequel? Let me know down in the comments below. Talking of futuristic battlefields, 2042. Now, where does that sit? This is gonna be a difficult one. Okay, enjoyable. I'm not too sure. You know, I'm gonna say it. When Battlefield 2042 is working, when the flanks are good, I mean, it is working. It's always been working pretty well. But, I mean, when the flow is good, when the gameplay is good, particularly with the newer modes like Control and all the updates that have came with it, I think Battlefield 2042 feels like a fairly good game right now. I'm a bit hesitant to say that because 2042 has been a little bit of a roller coaster for me. Sometimes I'd definitely stick it down here into the okay bracket. When the game first came out, I was really just jump in and just try and enjoy what it is. And some days it was good. It was really good, getting the flanks, getting the streaks, having a good time. Others, you really started to see the weaknesses of 2042, particularly with the 128 player modes. 128 players, does it need to exist in the next game? I don't think so. I don't think DICE is going to go down that road again. I'd actually love it if they tested like events. You know what? We made this decent Battlefield game. It's normally 64, but we've decided this weekend we're going to set a mode up for 128 players and just have a blast. I think that's the best way to do it. Going forward, 64 players has to be the standard, and then 128 just events. Do it that way, and I think the community would have a much more enjoyable time. But back to the game in question, 2042. It's a funny one, you know. Some days, again, Control on Arica Harbor, the map from Battlefield Bad Company 2. Again, it shows Bad Company 2 made some great maps. It plays really well in 2042. It's pretty balanced. It's got a couple of issues there with vehicles in the Control mode, but overall it plays really well. Really good back and forth action. The destruction as well. Oh man, once it's all kicking off, the helis are flying around, you're flanking the enemies, you're having fun. It's good. But 2042, sometimes it feels too empty. It feels like there's not really much going on. Breakthrough in particular has been very one-sided at times, and with all the stuff spotting you all the time, the robot dogs, the AI stuff, always spotting at you and shooting at you. I think for me that kind of weakens the experience, particularly when you're on Breakthrough on defense. This is one of the biggest issues with the game. I feel you can't really always PTFO. There's so many things that are against you, being spotted all the time. Again, the AI turrets and all that stuff, and you'll notice that if you play a lot of Breakthrough, sometimes defending just sucks. It absolutely sucks. And they kind of solved that with Control. I hope they take it forward and really develop it and add new maps. The music in 2042, you know, some of it's pretty good, but I don't know about that main theme. I don't know about that. I remember listening to it live when I was in Sweden, and I was like, I still kind of feel the same. I can live with it, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean when I talk about the theme, that bit towards the end. Yeah, I'm not so sure. 2042, I don't really know what else to say. It's been a roller coaster. Good times, not so good times. I'm glad it's in a better place now, and I hope it goes forward. I hope there's a year 2 at this point. I wasn't too sure. Honestly, I wasn't too sure if there was going to be. Now, maybe there is. Honestly, it's in a good place, a much better place than it was, and I think it still could be better. So I'm going to say, overall, it's been okay, but right now, I'm going to stick it up in enjoyable. I think it's a much better game now. Battlefield 5. Now this one, Oh, if you've watched this channel for a long time, I've been up and down with it. Not so much of a roller coaster like 2042, but there's been some good times and some not so good times again. But having said that, I really appreciate BF5 more now than I did when it came out, and I think it is a top tier Battlefield. It has issues. I think it has a lot of issues. Some of the maps aren't so great, and I think maps, you know, I mention this quite a lot because I do think maps are really important. Really, really important. Rotterdam, absolutely amazing. Metro, remake, remaster, well, it's not a remaster, it's a remake. Top tier. Absolutely amazing map. Still got some issues with the spawn trappings, but again, that happens in every Battlefield that has breakthrough. BF5, the audio, oh, it's beautiful, you know. Going into 2042 and their tank comes flying up to you and you barely even hear it, oh, it just frustrates me. But BF5, you can hear them coming from a long way, and they are loud and they are vibrant, really vibrant. And I think BF5 had quite a lot of that. Yeah, and the planes coming over, it was very cinematic in many ways. In some ways more than BF1. Yeah, I would say in some ways definitely more than BF1. There were some really good maps, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, but not Hamada. Can we put it out there? Can we never have Hamada back? Only if it's remastered and redone. I understand DICE's need to have a variety of maps for various different playstyles and players. You know, some maps are purely infantry or more focused towards the vehicle gameplay and mixtures in between. But Hamada, man, it was just too open, too many snipers. At the beginning, it played quite well, but it just, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And we do have to talk about the time to kill in Battlefield 5. Yeah, do I need to say any more about that? But there's lots of issues. The community was frustrated with that. One issue I did have with BF5 though was visibility. Can we talk about that? And the MMGs laying on the floor with the bipods. Never again. Never again. But the gunplay overall in BF5, I would say it was pretty solid, you know. Come to think of it, I would say it's pretty solid. Slightly less input lag on console, and it felt beautiful. And of course, if you go back and play it now, it's amazing how good BF5 visually looks on the old consoles. If you've got a PS5 and a 4K monitor, honestly, you really need to go and play this game again. It looks absolutely stunning. By the way, we do stream here on YouTube, and we've been doing some 4K streams on BF5 and BF1 on PS5, and it looks beautiful. So let's go and check those out on Sundays, usually Sundays, sometimes Saturdays. But yeah, BF5, lots of weapons, lots of customizations. I did enjoy the weapon customizations. You could set it so it was a certain way or a different way, better ADS, all these kind of things. I did like that. I think they got it kind of right there. I think it was simple, easy to understand. A little bit gutted that they had the Pacific and then that was it. It was a shame. It was a shame, especially seeing how 2042 is. I do think we have to take into account the panoramic. I'm going to change the word there so I don't get demonetized. That definitely affected 2042, and it just, you know, I'm not making excuses. I think 2042 could have been a much better game without that. We do have to take that into account. But yeah, it was a shame. It was a shame. Pacific was just stunning. The maps played really well. It was a new theater. It just looked epic. It really honestly felt epic to be there. It felt really immersive. It's a shame. It's a shame BF5 didn't get more content, you know. Come to think of it, I think I was a bit harsh on BF5 at times. Definitely was. I think it's because I wanted it to be better. I genuinely did want it to be better. It was good in many ways, but there's some things just not quite there. So I'm gonna leave it right at the top, though. I think it deserves it, especially now. It definitely is a top tier Battlefield. Battlefield Bad Company. You know, I'm gonna stick it in enjoyable. Only played the campaign. It was kind of good, kind of funny, a little bit out there in different ways, very different to Call of Duty. Some nice destruction going on there as well, which the series is well known for. But I don't really have much else to say. A little bit gutted. I didn't really try the online. No, barely touched it. Bad Company 2. Oh, absolutely loved it. So enjoyable is where I'll stick that. Battlefield 2, the sequel to Battlefield 1. No, I'm just kidding. I Didn't play it. Nope. Didn't play it, guys. Don't have much to say. Battlefield Heroes? Didn't play that either. I think it's cool that Battlefield takes on new approaches to the game. I think they should be encouraged to do that. But they need to really get it right. Battlefield Hardline for me just didn't quite get it right. That's where they kind of went off on a tangent there. Just not quite right. Battlefield Heroes for many got it right. Can't really say much about that because I didn't play it. But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you did and did you enjoy it. Again, Battlefield Vietnam, I've left these ones here because I didn't play it. But I will say, do you think this should come back? Should there be another Vietnam? Lots of people talk about it in my streams. I'm not so sure. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a remake or a sequel to this. I just like games to try and explore different theaters, different places, you know. But let me know down below, would you like to see it come back? And lastly, Battlefield 1942, didn't play that either. So I've left these all at the end here. I didn't play it. Nope, didn't play it. Played 1943, but not 1942. So should we go back to those eras? Is it too early? Should we get a BF1 remaster, a remake, a World War I game again, or even a World War II? Do let me know down in the comments below. That's been my Battlefield tier list. Let me know your thoughts. Did you hate it? Do you agree? Did I waffle on? I probably did. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know about this format as well. Do you like me sat here talking with the cam on or not? Should I script these videos a bit more? Maybe do some research and get my ideas better together? Probably. But until the next time, take it easy, guys, and I'll see you soon. Catch you later.